The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of Green Acres and our guests. These general gardening tips and suggestions may work for you, as well as those from alternative sources. When using any garden products or tools, read and follow all label directions.
The Green Acres Garden Podcast is the podcast dedicated to helping gardeners hone their growing skills while we celebrate our love of plants. So whether you're new to growing or a seasoned gardener, you're sure to learn something new. Join the fun as we have conversations with world-class growers, passionate green thumbs, and professional garden experts from Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Listen every week. We'll answer questions you didn't know you had. And away we grow. Hey there, what's up, garden friends? Man, my name is Kevin Jordan. I'm so excited for this week's episode. Back in studio with my Blossom buddy on the audio. How's it going there, Austin?
Hey, Blossom buddy. You know, I was listening to some old episodes, and we called each other all these nicknames all the time. So when you came here today, I called you Blossom buddy.
It fired me up.
It's a good throwback. Yeah.
It is. So I'm excited. We have an amazing guest this week. We're talking about a topic that I love because it tastes so good. I'm talking. So if you're listening right now, do you know if I say aprium, do you know what I'm talking about? If I say plumcot, do you know what I'm talking about? Or nectaplum or a peach plum hybrid.
Whoa.
Yep, pluots and beyond. If you didn't already, by the end of today's episode, not only will you know what these are, but you will be salivating to taste them and want to bring them back and grow them in your own home. So today's episode, we are meeting up with a good friend of ours, Brigitte Spielman. She works for Dave Wilson Nursery. They're an incredible partner of Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Dave Wilson Nursery grows an abundance of some of the most delicious fruit and nut trees, both for farmers and ranchers, but also for us home gardeners as well. And actually, at the school that I teach at, half of our orchard is actually filled full of their trees. We grow the cotton candy aprium that's ready in kind of late spring, early summer. It is incredibly, I mean, they're like these apricots, Austin, that are they're kind of orange with a little pink blush, and they're just a little bit juicier, a little bit sweeter. Then, of course, my personal favorites are the pluots. They got me through college on a tight budget because they're so good, and they were affordable at the farmer's market. But we grow a tree. It's a 3-in-1, Flavor Queen, Flavor Grenade, Flavor Supreme, I think. But there are dozens of varieties out there, or there are many, many. And so I am so fired up for this episode because I really love what fruit trees bring to my school. I'm growing them at my home. And so I know all of our listeners they're working on their own home gardens and landscapes. And I think making them more edible is, I think, a step in the right direction. And so we're going to learn from Brigitte all about these trees, kind of how they develop, the taste. We're going to talk about acid and sugar. We're going to talk about, backyard orchard culture, all these things. So hopefully you will not only be inspired, but we'll get a little information as well. But by the end of this episode, I'm telling you, we'll be salivating for fruit and looking towards. You'll be excited for the winter time. That's how good this is, because you'll be fired up going, when do I had the best chance of getting these fruit trees?
Oh, the bare root season.
Yes. So I'm fired. Right now we're harvesting and eating them. So that's why we're kind of celebrating. But you know what? I'm already looking towards the future. So
yeah, it's time to start thinking about what kind of fruit trees you want to grow. So like you said, we've got the best, and these are Dave Wilson's right here in our backyard. This is a Northern California jewel that we have right here. I'm so proud of all the cool industry we have here.
It's cool.
And this is one of those cool things. So Brigitte is going to come on and school us up. She's going to meet up with us over Zoom, and she's coming in right now. So let's go ahead and connect there and talk to Brigitte and learn all about fruit trees from Dave Wilson Nursery. Here we go.
All right, so I'm here with Brigitte Spielman of Dave Wilson Nursery. How's it going, Brigitte?
So great. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here. First, introduce yourself to our listeners. Let us know who you are and what you do out there with Dave Wilson Nursery.
So I'm Brigitte Spielman, and I am currently the Sales and Market Development Coordinator. One of my biggest jobs that I do, one of my most important jobs, is fruit evaluation for the wholesale and home garden market.
So, Brigitte, what is it about fruit trees that we love so much? I mean, I feel like there's rose people, lily people, flower people, but when it comes to fruit trees, it's something that when people pluck that fruit off that tree, there's just something about it, and the idea of having that fruit maybe near our home. I don't know, but maybe I'll let you say, why do you think it is? Why do we love fruit so much?
Well, hopefully, the first reason is flavor. That is the first thing that we look for when we're selecting new varieties. And that's the first thing that you remember when you're eating your fruit off the tree, 30 years in a row,
I feel like often we have memories going back, and it kind of sometimes we kind of intertwine them. Sometimes you see smells and things like that. But I feel like flavor, taste, going out to your grandparents' backyard and pulling that apricot off the tree, it kind of sticks with you. Do you feel like that's true when it comes to growing these fruit trees?
I think so. I think, fruit trees offer so much more than just food. They offer connection to nature. They offer connection to your family, because you can bring your family in really easily, and cultivate that relationship with your landscape and your family at the same time. And I think growing fruit trees is so wholesome, really, and it's really pretty easy. Fruit trees are an easy thing to grow. They might look a little bit daunting just when you see them sitting at the retailer. They're sitting in pots, and they look incredible. The tag looks incredible. The fruit looks incredible. But then you think, oh, maybe it's too big to fit in my car, or I'm going to get it home, and then what do I do with it? And we at Dave Wilson Nursery have integrated backyard orchard culture into really everything that we do and how we sell fruit trees. We don't sell just the fruit tree. We sell the education behind it and the success behind it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. And you brought up the next question, backyard orchard culture. How does that differ from commercial orchard culture? Like you said, sometimes people have sometimes they'll see a fruit tree and go, ooh, maybe that's a little daunting. Maybe it's going to get too big for me and have just way too much fruit. Because that's what we see when you see a 30-foot commercial orchard. So the trees are huge. You're like, that's just too difficult. I can't do that. But backyard orchard culture does something totally different, and it kind of brings the orchard into your yard in ways that I think people don't understand, in ways that you can really be successful and kind of shrink down, but still have just huge bumper crops, huge harvests that you can get. So tell us a little bit about that. Where does that begin?
So backyard orchard culture differs greatly from commercial orchard culture. And really putting it simply, with backyard orchard culture, it's designed so that it's designed so you can move through the trees freely. You can excessively pick your fruit. You can excessively prune your tree. And with commercial orchard culture, you need to be able to get equipment through those rows and shake those trees. And maybe you need ladders. With backyard orchard culture, you don't need ladders. You don't need equipment, heavy equipment. You need your hands, you need a pruner, and your eyeballs, really.
I love it. So when it comes to bringing home these plants and getting them started, what is the information? What is the best practice according to you and Dave Wilson Nursery? How should we be starting our trees off successfully to kind of get that backyard orchard culture going?
So first of all, we've got lots of information on backyard orchard culture on our website, on our YouTube page. If you email us, we will send it to you as well. And how you start your tree, if you're going to start that out in January, you're going to get a bare root tree, and you're going to look for anything between a 1/2 inch to a 5/8 caliper. That is the perfect size to start, and get that tree home, plant it in the ground, and chop it off at the knee.
That is a step that I think so many people struggle with, because you kind of pick the tree for the height, the structure, but really you just cut that sucker back down to about knee height.
Yeah, cut it right to your knee height, and that's going to create that first flush in the spring. You'll watch that, see how those branches came out. If there's anything coming in, just prune those so that they face out, and then that will create a nice vase shape. And then you'll have your spring flush prune, summer flush, you'll come back in, do another prune, and that will be probably it for that first year. On your second year, you will have another spring flush, and you'll probably have some blossoms come out on there, possibly some little fruit sets maybe. And at that time, you'll do your first spring prune, do any removal of, do some thinning, and then make sure your vase shape is still present so that you can allow for air penetration and light flow. As the summer months come on and the heat comes on, that tree is just going to keep fleshing out, go back through, prune again, and then leave it alone for that the rest of the year. That third year is really when you're going to have that fruit production come on really strong.
Love it. And just to reiterate, it seems like it's very important to just do a bit of pruning in those first couple of years, as opposed to forgetting all that, letting it grow a little bit too large. It's easier to keep that tree small from the start, right, than it is to kind of make a tall tree short.
Right. Well, and essentially, it's the decision between if you're going to allow it to put all the energy into a fully, or 4-foot tree already, you're just going to plant a 4-foot tree in the ground and allow that to flesh out, and it will be beautiful, but it will keep going. And at that point, it's really difficult to manage that. Once you've got a tree that you planted bare root 4 feet, by the end of the summer, you probably have double that size growth on there, and you've got wonky branches going all over the place. You don't know where to go now. So starting your tree off at the knee is going to allow for that first year flush. You'll be able to see where you need to prune a lot easier than looking at your tree and going, oh my gosh, I got branches going left and right.
Yeah, it's nice to get off to a good start for sure. And now I've noticed in the summer times, as things grow and they start, even though they are semi-dwarf and that keeps them a bit shorter, sometimes they do tend to grow a little more vertical than I've liked. So how important is it for backyard orchard culture in that summer pruning? Because I know we hear a lot about, even on this show, we talk about, getting structure in the winter to really kind of go back and make any corrections, remove any dead or diseased wood, anything that looks damaged or things that are touching or crisscrossing. I do a lot of that in the winter, but in the summer I see a lot of growth and it's so vigorous. That secret magic trick to that, keeping that tree just the right height, I feel like, is summer pruning. Is that true?
It is true. And I don't know if it's a secret magic trick, but it definitely works if you do it. So summer pruning, you'll be able to definitely do it. Post-harvest is the perfect time to do it. And coming in, you don't have any fruit to worry about. You come in and prune your tree. You could top it first if you need to. If it's really, really crazy, just top it all at the height that you want, whether that's 5 feet, 6 feet. And then you can go in and look in your branches and see what branches are crossing, where you've got extra growth inside the canopy. Make sure everything is facing out. And make sure you take your time with it and take a step back, look at it, prune again, take a step back, prune again.
I think that's a great suggestion. That's the same strategy that I've kind of had to learn the hard way over time. And it's okay. You don't have to do every single cut all at once. You can take time. And I like the idea of cutting it, taking a moment, step back, kind of see what you've done, and then move from there. It's because then I've noticed when I walk away for a little bit, I'll come back and I'll see things that are just so apparent that I'm like, oh gosh, how did I leave that one? And then you make better and better decisions.
Just try, like anything. If you don't try, you never know and you never learn. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about methodology of backyard orchard culture and pruning is you just got to try it. And you said learning the hard way, and really there's no learning the hard way. You're just learning, right? Because you did that one time, you made that mistake, and then you didn't do it again. You did something different next time. And that's what that's all about. That's what this is all about.
I love it. Like a mistake in the garden is just an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so cool. I'm loving it. A little birdie told me that not too long ago, y'all had a pretty large tasting going on this summer. Can you tell us a little about that? How'd that go?
We were really fortunate this year to bring back our fruit tastings. We had 2, and then Green Acres had an opportunity to do one at their nursery, and it was a great turnout. We had such a great time. We did one in June and one in July. And the top test taste winners for the June showing were Snow Queen Nectarine and Splash Pluot. And the top taste winners for July were Splash Again and Candy Heart.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. I remember when we were out there tasting, you busted out that Sol Dorado nectarine. It tasted, it was so sweet, hyper juicy. It was a yellow flesh nectarine. And actually, that brings me to my next question. That one, I believe, is a genetic dwarf, right?
It is. And
what's the diff?
So genetic dwarfs are, I don't want to say true dwarfs, but they are true dwarfs. They do not get above they don't get above 8 to 10 feet. And they are slow growing. They are really high yielding, all of the varieties that we have. And Dave Wilson is the largest supplier of genetic dwarfs, miniature peach and nectarines.
That's awesome. When I tasted that one, I was like, "That's amazing." And then you said it's a genetic dwarf, and I was like, "I could grow this in a wine barrel." Is that true?
Yeah.
Can I grow it in a wine barrel?
Yeah, that's the best part about the miniatures. They're easy to grow, they're easy to eat, they're easy to move, they're easy to prune. They're just easy. They're delicious. My favorite is top three: Soldorado nectarine, Arctic Sprite nectarine, and the Snow Babe peach. And if you wanted to successive ripen plant any of those, you should choose those three because you'll have fruit from beginning of July to the end of August, and you can't beat it.
Can you tell me one more time what are those three flavors that are your faves right now?
Oh, okay. My favorite miniatures are the Soldorado nectarine, the Arctic Sprite nectarine, and the Snow Babe peach.
Oh, it sounds delicious. And I love the idea of the harvest season getting extended. That is so rad. At Dave Wilson Nursery on your website, y'all have the best calendar. It is your fruit and
Thank
nut
you.
harvest dates. And I suggest all of our listeners go there to check it out because one cool thing about backyard orchard culture, you mentioned it with the size of the dwarf tree, but even the semi-dwarfs, is just having a smaller tree. Not only is it easier to harvest, they're easier to maintain, easier to spray and prune and just care for in general. And so I love that. But what's really cool is about bringing a lot of different varieties into the yard. And by keeping them small, the whatever space we do have, we can maximize with our fruit trees. And I love looking at this calendar because from everyone who's listening, it starts in early May, and then the last fruit trees have fruit going through early December. What are some of your favorite varieties outside of the minis, things that you always look towards that are just remarkable, ones that you just always love eating?
Let's see. One of my favorites, Arctic J nectarine, Arctic Supreme peach. Those varieties have scored in the top test taste winners for over 30 years. Those are incredible varieties. And one thing I like, and tell people when they're saying, I'm new to, backyard orchard culture, I don't know where to begin. I don't know. I don't even know. I got to select a tree first. I don't know where to begin. And so the harvest chart is a great way to kind of make that decision. So you can either select for a gap in your yard. What time gap do you have? You've got a lot of stuff for the beginning of the year and the end of the year. You don't really have anything in the middle, or maybe a lot of people have more stuff for the middle of the year and not so much in the end. And so you can look at the harvest chart and go, oh, I can see what varieties line up and I'm going to select these. And then if you go to our website, you can find where to buy Dave Wilson anywhere. And you can also select for, not off the harvest chart, but if you wanted to select for flavor, you could select any of our top test taste winners. Those are proven varieties that people have raved about for years. And you can't go wrong selecting one of those varieties.
That's so cool. Just as an example, I'm looking at it right now. The peaches you have can start in early May, and then the last peach goes through like mid-October. And
yeah.
The apples start in June and go to almost November.
Right. Well, and apples, how many people know that apples start in June? You just grocery store fruit, it's there all the time. But when you go apple picking, you think, oh, it's going to be only fall. But no, it starts in June.
Yeah. And not only that, there's dozens of varieties of almost each category, which kind of brings me to my next thought. Can we talk a little bit about hybrids and interspecifics? When we were out there at Zager Genetics hanging out with Lacey Gardner, she is incredible. Learned so much from her. But they're developing all these new and incredible varieties. They brought the pluot to life, apriums and plumcots and nectaplums and whatnot, and pluaries. What are your thoughts on all these new and interesting hybrids?
I think they're incredible. I think complex fruit is, for me, I think that it's one of the most important things. It just offers so much more than growing just subacid fruit. A complex fruit is going to be stuff that has a little bit more acid, a little bit more sugar balance, and might have a little bit of a zip or a tang to it. Might be more red fleshed or have a little bit more red radiating through the flesh. And some really great pluot varieties. Splash pluot is incredible.
What color flesh is that one?
Huh?
What color flesh is the splash? What does that one look like?
Splash is, it is a gorgeous orangey gold. And just the longer it sits on the tree, just the redder and more translucent the skin gets, but it still hangs. I mean, it was in the top test taste winner, but it was in both of those focus groups, 2 months in a row. So when I find a piece of red fruit in the nursery or walking the rows at Zager's, it's pretty exciting. I immediately take a bite, close my eyes, and just try and focus on what that flavor tastes like, because I'm pretty good at selecting what varieties are going to be red fleshed out there. And then I open my eyes, and especially, if it is a wow flavor, open my eyes, and 9 times out of 10, it's a red flesh variety. It's exciting because, the antioxidant value in there, reduce inflammation. You get all those health benefits just like you would with pomegranates and blueberries. And, but definitely a different flavor profile.
I mean, it's just nice to be able to have that feeling of having the accessibility and the access to your own fresh fruit, especially if you're cultivating it organically, right at your fingertips, outside your patio. What do you think is the value of that? How important is that to you?
The value, I would say, is priceless. I know that fruit trees can be an expensive item at a retail nursery, the larger size that you go. But it is so worth it because, with the economy changing, we need to adapt to those changes, and being able to show people that growing fruit trees is not difficult. It's not hard. It shouldn't be scary. And we want to show you how to grow your fruit trees. And it's important because, yes, you're feeding yourself. You can feed your community. You can feed your family. You create bonds with your family. You create bonds in your community. And where your food is coming from. You know that it's going to taste great. And really, your mind kind of just explodes when you do anything that is artistic, right? And fruit tree gardening in general is artistic. Fruit tree pruning is artistic. You're a little artist when you're pruning your fruit tree. And just taking that ownership just feels so good. And that is what makes it such a wholesome thing to do. You're giving back to yourself. You're giving back to the world. And I am, being at Dave Wilson Nursery, I feel that we're doing that. I feel that completely. Every day I go to work, I know that I am moving the needle forward on feeding people, feeding the world.
Hey, I think you were doing a great job. So shout out to you and all of your colleagues out there at Dave Wilson Nursery. We really appreciate what you're doing. I know we're going to be excited for fruit trees once again. Oddly enough, January, February.
Yeah.
We get fired up in the winter for fruit trees, but then we enjoy them right now in the summer. So we'll have to have you back on to talk more again if possible. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're back from our Zoom interview with Bridget. Once again, Bridget, thank you so much for coming on board. I had an absolute blast. Also, I recently got to go to Dave Wilson Nursery. Me and Greg and some other colleagues from Green Acres, we went down there for a tasting event. It blew my mind. I ate like 30 different kinds of fruit. It was so cool. And Bridget was there running the whole thing. It was so fun. Thanks for that. But that's all the time we have for this week. Kevin, go ahead and take us out.
Well, what a great episode. I'm fired up for fruit trees. I already loved them, Austin. I was already sold, but now I'm a little bit more excited. We're still eating fruit off our trees. We've been eating apples. We're looking towards the peaches, but you know what? This episode got me more excited. So shout out to Bridget for all the work she did in this great episode. But I want to encourage all you listeners out there, go try this fruit. Go to your farmers markets. Go to your U-Picks. Find a friend in your neighborhood who grows these trees and see if you can get your hands on some of them. Because I'm telling you, once you bite in to a nice, ripe, juicy pluot, dude, life will never be the same. These are fruits that our great-grandparents, some of them never got to enjoy because they're all brand new, many of them. So the sky is the limit when it comes to fruit trees. So please dream big, garden friends. Create your own oasis around you, wherever you live, in your backyard, side yard, front yard, or whatever, because I'm telling you, you can have this fruit right at your fingertips. So get out there and get ready to get growing, garden friends. But that wraps up for this week. I got to get back out in the garden, do some more planting, do some more harvesting, because guess what? The seasons are about to change, and we've got so much to talk about in the coming weeks. We're talking fall gardening, and it's going to be, I know we're heading out of summer, Austin, but it's going to be planting season again.
Absolutely.
Because there's no time like planting like fall. So there's so much to think about in the garden, friends. I wish you all the very best. I've been so happy to meet some of you lately and to hear about your garden adventures. And I just want to wish you the very best. So please have an amazing week. Come back next time for some more garden fun here at the Green Acres Garden Podcast with me, your host, Kevin Jordan, and my good blossom buddy, Austin Blank. Until next time, garden friends, happy gardening to you all. And please never stop growing. Fruit trees.
Fruit trees. Yeah. Like some blue ops, some interspecifics, some apiary,
some jujubes, an apple or two, a nectar plum.
a peach.
Yes, I'll take it.